Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Um, I'm so excited to welcome you all here for a night of musical storytelling. So without further ado, I'm introducing Charlie King and Rebel Voices. I hope you all enjoy the show as much as I know I will.
Thank you, Grace. I believe we're in the key of B flat. Wayne was a bashful kid, grew up on Nashville, dreamed of the smoky old West. His dad's a straight shooter, told Wayne a recruiter would help him put hair on his chest. He signed up for Fort Benning. He liked all the men. He made friends with a shake and a grin. Met the men he liked most at a bar off the post. It's the first place Wayne ever fit in. But the neon sign over the bar hung under the howitzer shell flashed the saddest words Wayne ever saw. Don't ask, don't tell.
Wanda could flaunt it, knew just what she wanted, got started at ROTC. Outdid all the men, outranked half of Fort Benning, outspoken, outrageous, and free. The night was her cover, she'd waltz her wild lover out under the big Georgia moon. But tonight it was raining, so she ran into Wayne in the heart of that same old saloon. And the neon sign over the bar hung under the howitzer shell, flashed the saddest words they ever saw. Don't ask, don't tell. Wayne mumbles howdy, she says, hello cowboy, I don't believe we've met before. Wayne's new in the service, he gulps his drink nervously, keeping one eye on the door. She says, it's no crime here, is this your first time here? He raises his glass to the sign. She says, everyone in here's got their own opinion, now you're gonna listen to mine. What I read in that sign is a 4-word prescription for life in your own private hell. It's the great compromise, they say wear a disguise and everything's gonna be swell. I say you're only as sick as your secret, only the truth sets you free, and you're only alone till you speak it. Ask me, tell me.
Wayne smiles at Wanda, then flags the bartender. Wanda says, this one's on me. They sit swapping stories, old guilt and old glory, old secrets and old memories. They plan their attack. Wanda covers his back while Wayne pulls the plug on the sign. As they waltz across the parking lot, rain finally starts to stop. Big old moon starting to shine. Oh, says you're only as sick as your secret. Only the truth sets you free, and you're only alone till you speak it. Ask me, tell me.
Oh, you're only alone till you speak it. Ask me, tell me.
Thank you, Rebel Voices.
good, lovely song, Charlie.
Thank you.
Yes, it has stayed with me. That's one of your early ones. Yeah.
Well, let's see. It's a story I made up in the early years of the the Clinton presidency. Yeah, yeah. So,
Well,
um,
I do so appreciate a small bit of sabotage solidarity. I think that's great.
mhm, yeah.
Here next is a work from our old friend David Roth, a very early work. And David, as you may know, is a master storyteller as well, and guaranteed by himself to be absolutely true, except he has changed the name of the location to protect the guilty. Why would he do that? Mom and Pop were making pizza down in Podunk. They've been making pies for many years. That's how they put their kids through school, and college students like to come, 'cause that's the food they like to eat. And Mom and Pop would welcome all their pepperoni pals.
Now, Podunk was a smallish town, but even so, the phone book, the pizza section in the local phone book, was 3 full pages long, and in it Mom and Pop were listed between Mario's and Salvatore's, with customers enough for every pizza joint in town.
But little towns with simple charms eventually get bigger as hordes of urban fugitives come staking out their share. The world's largest pizza chain found Podunk quite desirable and opened up their fast food pizza there.
But Mom and, oh no, they took a full-page color ad right there in the yellow pages.
No one had ever done that before, and Podunk was all buzzing to the point where curiosity just overcame their loyalty.
And the pizza-eating public flocked through corporate pizza doors.
Fall down all in a row, tip the first and watch them go. One by one they all fall down, till 2 for 1 in Podunk town.
But Mom and Pop would not be squeezed. Their immigrant mentalities had taught them how to weather storms and stay alive. What times were tough,
Though corporate pizza took a jumbo bite out of their business, they just put a little sign up in the window of their store.
soon the folks were flocking back with crumpled papers in their hands.
They torn them out of every single phone book there in town.
Full-page ads from corporate pizza ripped right out of binding.
You couldn't find that ad in any phone book for miles around.
'Cause Mom and Pop were offering a great deal on their pizzas. It was 2 for 1 with every special coupon that you brought in, and that coupon,
Well, you probably guessed, with someone's full-page phone book ad, you couldn't trade it in unless you tore the whole thing out. Fall down all in a row, tip the first and watch them go. One by one they all fall down, till 2 for 1 in Podunk town. Mom and Pop, they came around, they would not take this sitting down. They stood right up and held their ground, with 2 for 1 in Podunk town.
Great story. Well told. Thank you. This has been a lot of fun preparing for this show, partly because we rehearsed the life out of it, and partly because we're getting to sing some wonderful storytelling songs by some of our favorite storytellers. And certainly David Roth is high on that list. He's written so many wonderful story songs that we've sung. And another favorite for me is always Dave Gordon. And sing a couple of Dave's songs. Dave wrote about a wide range of things, but he wrote about his family. He wrote songs to honor his mom and his dad, and he wrote songs to poke fun at his two brothers, and this is one of those. The young women cower, the young children shriek. I'm a creature so low that you don't have to speak. Yes, sir, you'll sweep around me and be on your way. But my brother John is a CPA. Sure, I sleep in the dirt near a Ludlow Street dive, but once I had something to love and to drive. But my wife left with John in my new Chevrolet. My brother John is a CPA. He's clutching the wheel of an automobile that's shaped like a German torpedo. His wife's wearing furs and they're calling him sir at a big aid firm in Toledo. I've been kicked by the cops, I've been clubbed in the head, I've been slung in the gutter and left there for dead. Ah, but when they get finished, I sit up and say, hey, my brother John is a CPA. Well, it's warm in your wagon, sir, thanks for the ride. But this city jail's got roaches inside, and the rats in the rafters keep looking my way. But my brother John is a CPA. Well, Big Mike and the Hammer, they say I'm a fool to have done all John's papers and put him through school. But it's worth every penny if I can convey that my brother John is a CPA. 1 year for his birthday, I give him a call, and his secretary came down here that fall, gave me wine for a promise that I'd keep away. But my brother John is a CPA. He can dress for success, he can beat IRS. Why, you'd think that his tricks were Houdini's. If his clients are crooks, he can juggle the books while drinking the driest martinis. So the young women cower, the young children shriek. I've not had a bath since I fell in the creek. Now I've got to hustle my first drink today. But my brother John is a CPA. Yes, my brother John is a CPA. Just goes to show that just because you love a good story doesn't mean you can play the guitar as well as the guy that wrote it. Dave's one of my favorite songwriters, but also one of the finest musicians I've ever had the chance to work with. In his all too short life, he left us a great legacy of songs, and he also left us an entire folk opera called Black and White Rainbow. And sing a song from that. And like a good story, it doesn't really need any introduction except to tell you that he tells a complete life story in under 2 minutes. Evelyn told him the light got in her eyes. He said you could sleep in the black back room. You might like the climate in there. If you want to sleep in a black room, if you think this is too small to share, well, it could be the back room is more your size. Now Evelyn sleeps with the light in her eyes. He was the editor of the old Weekly Gazette. He shut down the presses to write up his memoirs, but hasn't written anything yet. He built him a house on the Methodist end and invited the folks he had known. They drank to his fortune until it was gone. Then he went right on drinking alone. It was Evelyn, leave the light on. Leave me a pad to write on. I might get a fresh idea ahead of the dawn. Come on. Evelyn, brew the Folgers. Take out the dead glass soldiers. Don't take the ashtray. Don't take so long in the john. It'll be 4 years in April since he answered to his name. Evelyn leaves the light on just the same. One time he pushed her so hard that she fell on the floor. She dusted her clothes off and walked to the kitchen, said, "Don't you do that anymore." He was bringing a typewriter down from the attic when a stroke made him fall down the stairs. Came home from the hospital 40 days later, folks say, on Evelyn's prayers. Here's Evelyn, leave the light on. Leave me a pad to write on. I might get a fresh idea ahead of the dawn. Come on, Evelyn, brew the Folgers. Take out the dead class soldiers. Don't take the ashtray. Don't take so long in the john. It'll be 4 years in April since he answered to his name. Evelyn leaves the light on just the same. The same. Evelyn leaves the light on just the same. Dave Gordon, presente.
This has been a season for me of being particularly susceptible to family stories. I'm sure you all have had your own COVID experiences. Mine was impacted. I had just retired, so I almost didn't notice that I was staying home and doing nothing. But just a couple of months into COVID, my buddy Larry, who lives downstairs, lost his job and he wasn't eligible for the unemployment compensation. So I was trying to invent work tasks around the house that I could hire him to do because he wouldn't take charity, you know. So he stained the deck and he painted the living room wall, and I'm casting about for something else. Inspiration, you can paint the inside of the kitchen cabinets. Everybody has to do that, right? So out come all these things on the counter, on the table, on the dining room table, and I'm weighing and measuring. Oh, look, that's my grandparents' depression glass, and there are the cordials that my mom brought back. So all of a sudden, the history of everything has ended up with me. My mother's sister had no kids. My brother has no kids. I have no kids. And it took 2 days. And on the second morning, the stories began to geyser, 50 of them. After a few years, the songs came. Here's One Little Marriage. Grandpa Izzy was arrested at his mother's dining table with a posse of adolescent comrades featuring just a couple of his 5 brothers. The Russian police guards, probably Cossacks on horseback, had little to say other than berating the youngest, that's 14-year-old Uncle Harry, for hanging around these hoodlums who were conspiring to overthrow the Tsar. The magistrate, however, had much to say, first issuing a 1-year sentence to 18-year-old Uncle David, but to my 16-year-old grandfather, he issued a diatribe of warning and admonition, probably because Izzy had stood up and was accusing the judge of being complicit in this system that was keeping 100 million Russian peasants in abject poverty and starvation. Izzy got 4 years in a Belarus prison with no glass in his cell block windows. Now there are no siblings round a table, no offspring, though my windows here are tightly fitted and it's safe and warm in this chamber, happily, willingly of my own making, but I do lament this fate. No one else will ever recount these stories as part of this lineage. I'm the last. I am the last, no one will come after, saving the past in crates neath the rafters, storing the stuff, the rough and the fine, sharing the stories that came down the line. I am the fruit of boughs once abundant, facing the truth that I'm now redundant, rich at the root but bare at the twig. To reap any harvest you must poke and dig. I'm not the first to mourn, no descendants, it's hardly the worst. I'm quite independent, but who'll tell the tales of my mom and her folks? Who will remember my dad's corny jokes? These are the things that I now inherit, the impulse to sing of small deeds of merit, buttons and dishes and scarves made of silk, uneasy with language, allergic to milk. I am the last, no one will come after.
Thank you, Janet. That was beautifully written.
One of the things I love about these stories that Janet's been getting down on paper and into song, while they're very personal and very specific, they're also, I think they also have kind of a universal appeal in terms of everybody understands these feelings, and I think that's a cool thing about a good story. And I don't know if you would have pegged yourself as a storyteller
No.
before COVID, but storytellers come from everywhere, out of literary programs and out of journalism schools. Scientists also, they're scientists make up stories all the time, but they call them theories. They look at something, they think, I wonder what makes that happen. I wonder why, or I wonder what would happen if I did such and such. And as they learn more, their stories change a little bit and they evolve. For instance, with the dinosaurs, since the first dinosaur bone was found, I think scientists were fascinated with these giant animals that roamed the earth for millions of years. And those scientists who looked at that kind of stuff, they made up all kinds of stories to explain why, but they never have been able to say exactly why they've disappeared. But Mark Graham, who is a musical expounder of the theories in his own head, he did come up with something. And what key is it in?
C minor.
C minor.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is a C. So
What's our first note from that? Extrapolate for me.
Yeah.
Extrapolate that theory. Well, does that feel
Okay.
right? We'll
Yep.
start over if it's wrong. We'll develop the theory.
Okay.
When I sit in contemplation of the human situation, I often feel a certain sense of pride, for our achievements are many and mighty, and the evidence cannot be denied.
The evidence is there,
But my reverie is shaken, 'cause my thoughts are always taken to a tragedy that happened long ago. When they're moved through the land, beings awesome and grand, the fabulous dinosaur. They were creatures in a manner quite reptilian,
quite
in their unique and stylish way.
in their way,
And their numbers could be reckoned in the
reckoned in the
millions, but there were
millions.
zero of these
Heroes in the world today. They had music, art, and fashion. There was dinosauric passion,
and I'm sure they'd be enraged and mortified that when they're mentioned today, it's only to say their brains were small and they died. Perhaps some asteroid that Mother Earth could not avoid became the agent of their premature demise. Well, I understand these things can happen, so who are we to criticize? When we'll
spend most any price to have the
stand
ultimate device
to ensure the perfect global suicide. I would venture instead that the humanoid head is where the tinier brain resides. And when we're gone, our works will start to crumble till nothing can be found. In 10 million years, some other guys will stumble on our fossils, and some experts will begin to expound in some scientific study to his cockroach science buddies how the evidence can never be denied. They were big, dumb, and slow. They couldn't go with the flow. Their brains were small and they died.
Thanks.
Welcome back, Charlie.
Yeah.
I love Mark's writing.
Oh, I guess when it might be important to know that aforementioned Mark Graham is Mr. Lewis, Susan's husband.
But even if Susan weren't here, we'd be singing Mark Graham songs because they're great songs.
Yeah.
This is not a matter of, what do you call it when you give things to your family member?
Nepotism.
No nepotismo.
From the Latin word nepo, meaning, I don't know. So, let's see. Under the category of great storytellers whose music is challenging to play but wonderful to sing, I would raise the name of Rick Burkhardt, one of our favorite performers. And this is a piece that he wrote that talks about three different people who grew fat and wealthy off of the Civil War and slavery. Their names are William Carter's Wickham and Charles Lynn and a British citizen, Edward Colston. And we're going to sing to you about them.
Your childhood was ringed by cotton fields. The hands that picked the cotton cooked your meals. While you grew up to be a lawyer, then a general, of some renown.
You fought the Union off at Chancellorsville.
Your cavalry was flanked at Fisher's Hill. They found your men.
Now follow them.
statue down.
The cotton which those nameless people picked, you took from them and packed it in your ship, then sailed it to the mills at Liverpool, pound for pound. And from those sails you sailed the money back to keep your southern armies in the black. Now the bill is due, and so are you. Statue down.
Statue down. You thought you were glory bound, and now you're on the ground. You face the changing wind, no bronze and no stone to insulate your thin skin.
From Bristol Bay you reached across the sea for silver, sugar, gold, and ivory. Your Royal African Company sure shopped around. Then on the New World shores, the souls you sold weren't yours, except for one whose time has come. Statue down.
Statue down. You thought you were so profound, and now you've been decrowned and drowned in Bristol Bay, the gallery of decay, where you're exhibit A for a day.
And history is strange, and history can change.
You made history, now so do we. Statue down.
Nicely done. Thank you, Rebel Voices.
Thank you for introducing us to that song, Charlie. It's a great song.
It is a great song, isn't it? And this is a song assignment that I got from Rebel Voices, quite specifically from Janet, who does not play an instrument. So this again is, it's a Rick Burkhardt song, and if I remember correctly, the way he introduces it in concert, he wrote it for a friend of his who's a public school teacher in Texas, and it's called Creative Writing. He shuffles into class 6 minutes late. I call him Miguel. He calls me Mister. He's wearing a mask much too small for his face. I happen to know that's 'cause he sewed it for his little sister. I know he packed her lunch and his little brother's too. And then from 5 to 8 a.m. he worked retail. End of the day, he's got another day job waiting. All I can say is, hey Miguel, you can still include more detail about your bald spot sunburned manager, about your grand aunt and her boyfriends fighting. I want to quit this job, but I can't, 'cause I'm such a fan of your creative writing. He'll cook them a dinner that's vivid and specific, help with their homework, wash their little masks. The soap feels slippery, the tacos taste terrific. I'm learning lots of things I'd never be allowed to ask. Like, don't you dare tell his family, who he never told, about the night he snuck to Rite Aid and got himself the vaccine. I swear this kid writes like he was 65 years old, and I'm just trying to write like I was 16. But come lunchtime, I must dine with the birch bark shiny faculty beneath the wine of our fluorescent lighting. They all say the gal has a discipline problem, and I'm screaming inside, you pompous asses, not one of you could pass my class in creative writing. I'll build a spaceship from your stories, and I'll blast off from my Lilliput apartment in a different solar system from where your words were written. I might find creatures smart enough to finally get what you meant. I'll have my quarterly performance review. They'll say, don't worry, the first 10 years are the worst. You're doing great if you just keep the kids from jumping out the windows. I'll say that's not my job, not if I jump first. I can't afford to order in again, but outside the virus count is rising. I know tonight I'm gonna lose it, because every night I lose it before I lose myself in your creative writing. Rick Burkhardt.
Man, Charlie, that's a whole play. Really,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very moving. We have a buddy, an old buddy that we know from the Seattle Song Circle, Mark Cohen. He's now a pediatrician on the mid-coast of California. He wrote this song based upon a newspaper article, and we found ourselves drawn to doing this now and here after. How do the children in our lives inform us? Morning in San Carolampio, school children gather around. From Guatemala, their families have fled to this Mexican town. A woman from north of the border opens a box on the floor, gives them all crayons and paper. Some never have seen these before. anything you can recall. Use all the colors and we'll put them up on the wall. And the children draw guns,
bullets and blood.
soldiers in uniform burning their houses, trampling gardens to mud. The children of San Carolumpio draw pictures of guns. Look at them quietly working,
Drawing with care and with pride,
showing no sign of the terrible memories hidden inside.
but where are the sun and the rainbows? Where are the birds in the sky?
Where are the circles of children who dance with the stars in their eyes? Don't look for stars in the children's eyes. Don't look for sun in their sky. These are the children of war who have watched their friends die.
And the children draw guns, bullets and blood.
Soldiers in uniform burning their houses, trampling gardens to mud. The children of San Carolumpio draw pictures of guns. Some say they will not remember.
Some say they can't understand.
Look at the pictures and see that they know what was done to their land. What have we done to these children?
What have we taken away?
Far from their homes, can they ever be free just to draw and to play? Some will be soldiers before too long, carrying guns of their own, turned into pictures by children who'll never come home. And the children draw guns, bullets and blood. Soldiers in uniform burning their houses, trampling gardens to mud. The children of San Carolumpio draw pictures of guns. Ooh, I'm realizing, thank you, Mark Cohen. I'm realizing that we've started a mini set that well, is really influenced by the deep concern that we share for how our world is full of casualties of war and hatred and xenophobia. Our town hall here in Seattle is just about to mount an exhibit of children's art that has just come from Gaza through the Rafah Gate and here in Seattle. The art has come, not the children yet. What do I want to say? I want to say that European nations and their offspring colonies who are doing this rampant marauding all over the world historically, they've never been good at taking any responsibility for the casualties of their machinations. I want to say that we're going to sing you a song about some differences. You might need to know that the UN High Commission on Refugees in just last year measured, there are 110 million displaced people in the world, a third of whom are refugees.
Many of them are fleeing war or political oppression. Some are homeless because of hurricanes or other climate or natural disasters, such as earthquakes. But even in the midst of the worst of situations, we still can find a glimpse of hope as well if we know where to look. Rebecca Solnit wrote a whole book about it called A Paradise Built in Hell, in which she documents how much hope and solidarity emerge in the face of sudden disaster when regular people acting on their own and without the instruction or consulting any authorities, they manage to provide for each other, meeting each other's needs at hand in the immediate aftermath of these kinds of disasters. And that sort of taking care of each other actually happens more often than you might think. And we don't hear it about it often enough, though.
Let me fill you in. Was there more?
No, that's it.
Okey-doke.
That's it.
I had heard the word Dunkirk. I never saw the movie. Apparently, Charlie and Susan, so they know the whole story. But I want to fill you in. So during World War II, when there were about 300,000 soldiers on the shores of France, Dunkirk, France, the military vessels couldn't make it through because of the depth of the harbor. 800 boats, fishing vessels, and pleasure boats got all 300,000 off the shore and into England. So what do we need? We meet one such hopeful person. We are going to meet one such helpful person who is driving down from northeastern England, from Teesdale is the area where Sean Cooney of the Young'uns lives. We heard about this fellow who lives in his town. He is driving down toward Route A19 to get to that very narrow channel that separates Dover from Dunkirk.
This is it.
Well, really? Well, sure. Can I have an F again?
Oh no, wait, let's see. E. Try that.
Thank
That was
you.
an F sharp, sorry.
Yes, individuals make such a big difference in each other's lives. Wasn't me. Well, I tell my screen just offered us an advertisement. Well, the mist was lifting from Rosebery Top, and the moors were cold and green, and the driver swore there would be no stopping as he made for the A19. Here in our borough, lads and lasses, I need to take a drink.
Let's do this again.
Okay, hang on for just a second.
Well,
All right, we apologize to everybody. Oh, well, the mist was lifting from Rosebery Top, and the moors were cold and green, and the driver swore there would be no stopping as he'd head for the A19. Here in our borough, lads and lasses were all sleeping safe and still, when Ghaffar Hussein hit the road with 1,000,000 mouths to fill, with beans and rice and beans, and a hand when you fall. For there's a friendly face, a better place, and a future for us all. When he saw the children's distant faces on the TV screens, as they drowned and froze in hateful places with nothing but their dreams, he bought a bus and he filled it up with beans and rice and tea. And on a winter's morn he headed south and crossed over the sea. Here's beans and rice and beans, and a hand when you fall. For there's a friendly face, a better place, and a future for us all. Now Dunkirk we remember yet, the soldiers on the sand. 800 ships we'll not forget, they came to lend a hand. But here comes one more vessel now, across the angry sea, to serve 3,000 meals a day and 10,000 cups of tea. It's beans and rice and rice and beans, and a hand when you fall. For there's a friendly face, a better place, and a future for us all. Now some have stared into his face and wondered if he'd gone mad. But he knows he'd be in their place if it weren't for the chance he had. And the lads and lasses' hopeful faces are what drive him on. So here's to Gaffer and his bus and a better world to come. It's beans and rice and beans, and a hand when you fall. For there's a friendly face, a better place, and a future for us all. For there's a friendly face, a better place, and a future for us all. Woo.
Nicely done. Good story.
Oof, oof. Little hyperventilation going on here.
Oh, I have to put something on the...
The only thing I think I'd add would be that was Gaffor's first bus. And the camp he went to in Dunkirk was full of Syrian refugees. He went on to build bigger and bigger buses that could feed more and more people, bringing food to thousands as far as Greece and all along the way. And eventually he created another bus that delivered medical aid.
Thanks. I've been associated with the Catholic Worker since back I was in flunking out of college, and I've heard working in soup kitchens. I've heard criticisms of feeding programs. People saying like, "Oh, it's just a Band-Aid," you know, and you can't really tell where people are coming from politically when they offer those criticisms, but you can tell one thing about them, and that is that they're not hungry. There's a song by Bob Franke. It's really thrilling to be singing songs by all these wonderful people. He wrote this in 1994, and it was brought out of him by a ballot initiative in the state of California. It was called the Save Our State Initiative, and it was to establish a state-run citizen screening system that would prohibit people without papers from using emergency health care, public education, and other services in the state of California. And it passed. It became the law by referendum in California in 1994. And it took 5 years to go through the courts before the federal district court found it to be unconstitutional. No longer the law of the land in California. There have been similar referenda in Arizona, other states. I think Bob was just really horrified that such a large population would have a majority of the people that would support denying basic services to other human beings on the basis of their, whether or not they had citizen papers. So he reached back into his memory. He used to work when he was younger. He worked at a chocolate factory. Now he works for Apple. A little bit of a different employer, but anyhow, this song goes back to that time. I worked with Katya at the factory. She always did her job okay, as far as I could see. Lunchtime one day, she got nostalgic for her youth, growing up in wartime under a different truth. She told me,
when I was a girl, I loved a soldier in the SS. They only pick the strongest ones, the healthiest, the best. They weren't monsters, they were like your Green Beret. We never wanted to kill Jews, we just wanted them away. And you know we gave them lots of time till Kristallnacht sealed their fate. We only wanted them to emigrate. Now we'll give each Californian a plastic picture card. If you don't have your papers, kid, well, life is hard. Pass laws have arrived here in America at last. You used to get a meal in school, but that's the past.
just take your chances in the street, but do it out of sight. We know you'll get along until your crystal night. Your teacher has to turn you in, she doesn't really hate. We only wanted you to emigrate. Kristallnacht is coming, little Mexican child. The night of breaking glass, the night of running wild. Stay home and off the streets until Kristallnacht seals your fate. We only wanted you to emigrate.
Until we send the troopers in, we'll give you lots of time to get your life in order and forsake your little crimes. You're better off in Mexico, although you grew up here. And if your folks won't take you back, there's this to fear. Alone in an alley, your breaking glass will come. It won't get in the papers if we do it one by one. It's all about the bottom line, it isn't really hate. We only wanted you to emigrate.
Kristallnacht has come for you, Palestinian child. The night of breaking glass, the night of running wild. Find shelter where you can until Kristallnacht seals your fate. We only wanted you to emigrate.
We only wanted you to emigrate.
Bob Franke. Oh, by George, it's me, isn't it? I think the first time we figured this out, didn't we? The first time we were together, Rebel Voices and me, they weren't Rebel Voices. They were the Bells of Hoboken. And they were singing.
Yes, a very, very, very long time ago.
That's not so very long. What, 43 years, right? Yeah, a blink of an eye.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. What were you doing back then, Grace? Anyhow,
Just stating.
we found ourselves singing together at a People's Music Weekend in Manhattan, New York City, at Taller Latino Americano. And I got to hear live for the first time David Massengill. And he sang this song, and I asked him afterwards if he'd recorded it. He said he hadn't, and so I did. Been singing it ever since. All right. It's one of those songs that's so good you need two capos to sing it. Joe threw another tantrum. He could not be understood. He cries like baby Samson. His English is not good. Oh, his English is not good. Joe is boss of the kitchen, but on the outside he knows he's the low man on the totem pole. He's wearing giveaway clothes. Oh, he's wearing giveaway clothes. Joe, he fights the good fight. He wears a white uniform. The waiters all are artists out chasing unicorns. Oh, out chasing unicorns. Joe works 14 hours. After 10, he starts to booze. He gets very sentimental, and he sings the Buddha blues. Oh, he sings the Buddha blues. My name Joe. My name Joe. There is a king in Thailand, and he plays the jazz drum. He has a fine and healthy son. Oh no, I'm not the one. My name Joe. On the wall by the time clock, Joe's beaming from a photograph. Someone drew across his face. The waiters began to laugh. Oh, began to laugh. So Joe, he grabbed a cleaver and he tenderized the wall. And when he got through with it, that time clock wasn't punching at all. Time clock don't punch at all. All the waiters ran for cover. The maitre d' began to lisp, and the drunkard in the corner said his lettuce was not crisp. Oh, his lettuce was not crisp. The owner called immigration, said there's someone you should know. He's an illegal alien, and I think his name is Joe. Oh, I know his name is Joe. My name Joe. My name Joe. There is a king in Thailand, and he plays the jazz drum. He has a fine and healthy son. Oh no, I'm not the one. My name Joe. Come the man from immigration, said, I got a job to do. Easy questions, easy answers. Just point me to the kitchen crew. Point me to the kitchen crew. He asked Leroy from Harlem. He asked Cisco from Mexico. He asked Billy D from Tennessee. They all said, my name Joe. My name Joe. My name Joe. My name Joe. The immigration man, he spoke sputtered. The kitchen crew, they roared, and while they was arguing, Joe slipped out the back door. Oh, he slipped out the back door. On the beach, Joe tries to listen to the heartbeat of a whale, how it echoes his own heartbeat and the distance he has sailed. Oh, the distance he has sailed. My name Joe, my name Joe. There is a king in Thailand, and he plays the jazz drum. He has a fine and healthy son. Oh no, I'm not the one. My name Joe. My name Joe. David Massengill. Woohoo!
Love that song. And it actually kind of takes me back to when we first met you, but also Janet and I used to hang out at the Coop on Bleecker Street in New York City.
MacDougall.
McDougal Street, that's right. Well, not, yeah, McDougal Street. So, and met David Massengill there. Jack Hardy was there. A lot of budding songwriters.
Roth was there.
David Roth was
Yeah,
there. Christine Levin, all kinds of people.
You know,
David Bronk was there.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Rod McDonald was there. David Massengill was the first person I had seen to use a lap dulcimer as a lead instrument. Right?
Yeah.
It was quite credible.
Yeah. So
Talking.
we're gonna veer a little further back in time for this next song. Sherman's March to the Sea. Along the way, they
Who are the major characters here?
all right, okay. So while Sherman's March to the Sea, they freed many formerly enslaved people, and many of those formerly enslaved decided they would follow the Union Army rather than take their chances with William Tecumseh Sherman rather than stay back on the plantations where they had been enslaved, and they followed along with Sherman's troops throughout Georgia and kept gathering more and more freed people as they were going, and they were behind the artillery and the bummers, who were Sherman's people who requisitioned supplies along the way. Everywhere they went, they would go out into the countryside, the homes along the way, and they would requisition.
What do they call them?
Bummers.
Bummer.
Bummers. And then there was also the infantry and the newly freed people. And as they were approaching Savannah in the December of 1864, they got to Ebenezer Creek, and as they were arriving at Ebenezer Creek, they realized that the Confederate Army, or at least Joseph Wheeler's Confederate troops, were following close behind them, and the Union Army had to build a floating bridge to cross the Ebenezer Creek so they could make their way to Savannah. And Ebenezer Creek.
Big Creek.
Big Creek. Yeah, Big Creek, actually, if they needed a bridge. You're right. And the general who was responsible for building that floating bridge was named Jefferson Davis. And Jefferson C. Davis.
We need to differentiate.
Qualify. Yeah, Union General built the bridge. So at any rate, Jack Hardy picks up this story at Ebenezer Creek, and he dedicated this song to the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King.
So
need
Jefferson
more?
Davis is not the president of the Confederacy. He's a Union general.
This one.
This one is. Yes, there were two. There were two
At
people
least.
named Jefferson Davis.
Who knew?
Well,
Ja-
Jack Hardy did apparently.
You know, if it weren't for all these songs, we'd never learn any history. I mean, the amount of research we end up doing, it's like, so thank you for the opportunity to learn some things.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So here we go.
Ooh, did you guys check your instruments with each other?
What we did before, you want to do it again?
Yeah, let's just check, make sure. That looks beautiful. The creek lies swollen before us. The bridge is a slippery span. The guard with the Springfield rifle is barring our freedom plan. For days we have followed the wagons with all we own on our backs. That long blue winding dragon with fire and death in its tracks. But the pontoon bridge is gone.
For us these bummers meant freedom, the promise made good at last. That 7 year promise, why then do they turn us back? They have warned us not to follow too close behind their guns, that the fighting up front is heavy when it hasn't even begun. But the pontoon bridge is gone.
See, the avenging angel has turned upon his own, that all this talk of freedom is just Sherman's marching song. And some are pleading Jesus, asking what they have done wrong, running up and down the riverbank, flailing their arms in song. But the pontoon bridge is gone, and Sherman's troops have gone.
Some soldiers disobey orders to help build rafts of logs, but they sink as oft as they float, and time is running out. There's rumors of Wheeler's cavalry to ship us back to the farm, or shoot us here right where we stand, all helpless and unarmed. But the pontoon bridge is gone, and Sherman's troops have gone.
The camp lies now in embers, newspapers all been read, talk of a change in Washington, of a dream shot through the head. And some say Ebenezer is a cursed name for a creek, and some say Jefferson Davis is a blessed name to speak. But the pontoon bridge is gone, and Sherman's troops have gone,
And freedom now is gone.
Ebenezer translates as stone of help. How sadly ironic it was not.
In what language?
Hebrew.
Well, here's a nice segue. Let's see. when did this happen? I don't know when this happened. Probably about 30 years ago. It took place in Paris, France, and it was a story that unfolded in a bank in France. And there, in France, the government actually has control over the banks. So it's kind of the opposite of our system here. And word got out that the government had decided that the banks were a little top heavy and needed to cut back on their employees. And when this word reached the people on the bottom floor, they figured they were the most likely ones to be on the chopping block because they weren't having any say in the decision. And so they decided to take action into their own hands. They picked a delegation. They put them on the elevator. They sent them up to the top floor where the guys in the suits were making the decisions for the people on the bottom floor. And they walked into the meeting room and they told their bosses, we're here to help you decide. We're here to negotiate. And there's only one non-negotiable term, which is that nobody leaves this room until we reach a satisfactory conclusion. I stole this melody, obviously. I'm a teller at a bank, and it's 10 years I've been working for the man. When you got a job in Paris, gotta hold on to it any way you can. Unemployment runs 13%. They wanna lay me off, I gotta pay the rent. 6 days with the boss, but we're gonna let him go tonight. 6 days. Now the bank was getting shaky and the government was talking downsides. Friday everyone was crazy, we all had that certain look in our eyes. Went to the boss's office, started to shout, nobody leaves until we straighten this out. 6 days with the boss, then we're gonna let him go tonight. He said, I think I'd like to leave. We said, we think you better stay where you are. Cause if we don't get together, nobody's gonna get very far. And the key that's gonna set us free, a guarantee of job security. 6 days with the boss, but we're gonna let him go tonight. Day 1, we were feisty. Day 2, we hunkered for a long haul. Day 3 was ultimatums. Day 4, they begun to play ball. Government got on board. Day 5. Day 6, negotiators arrived. 6 days with the boss, and we're gonna let him go tonight. Let him go! Looks like we keep our jobs, but we want it at a hell of a cost. Cause there ain't nothing like a weekend, and I just spent mine with my boss. But 6 days ago they said, no deal. That's what they said before we stormed the Bastille. 6 days with the boss, we're gonna let him go tonight. I'll be sleeping in my own bed tonight, and if you think I'm happy, you're right. 6 days with the boss, we're gonna let him go tonight.
Did I do it? Oh, we've come back. We're here. Yes,
I've always loved that song.
it is. That's sort of what it feels like our rehearsals are like, don't you think? We're
More.
stuck in this Zoom.
Oh, 6 days. How do we get out of here?
All right, I'm about to break 2 major rules about concert giving. Usually, it's really important that your introduction is not longer than your song. And maybe this next song wasn't the perfect one to have chosen for this story song, but the story is so important that I'm going to give you some more information. All right. So our friend Bob Morgan wrote this song on the 100th anniversary of the event that we're about to describe. So it's July 4th, 1917, and half of Seattle's population has lined the shores. So that would be about 50,000 people at the time. So about 100 total, half of them are there. And they are along these shores to observe a miracle of modern engineering that has occurred, because it's going to connect three bodies of water. Long Lake Washington, itty bitty little Lake Union in the middle. These are separate bodies of water. And way out there to the west is Puget Sound. And the reason that this is happening is because the owners of the land that are on the east side of Lake Washington, they really want to make a little bit more money on the lumber and the timber and the ore that are being extracted from this land. And so how convenient that they get the Army Corps of Engineers to do this, which is partially funded by Congress at the time. How savvy to use the 4th of July to associate this endeavor with a patriotic event during wartime. They've even gotten the SS Roosevelt to lead the procession of small boats through this feat, which is locks. A canal and locks. And the result of changing the water level is that 9 feet of water will be lost from Lake Washington, the result of which is that the Duwamish tribe, who has lived to this point at the southern end of that lake, has their entire salmon run just dissipated, decimated, and their own Black River, the source of work and food and culture, is gone. The Duwamish people beseech the spirit of the lake. The translation in English is Weeping Mother. Let the salmon in.
And our job would be to set that introduction to music in a somewhat truncated
It would be really good. And the second error that I made just now is that
God,
you never tell your audience that you made a
stimulate you, Janet.
All right, here we go. Thank you, audience, for letting us err. Here we go. Is Acapulco? Huh? Okay.
Today's the day they celebrate a Seattle throng, 50,000 strong. They line the route, new canals and locks that raise the ships to freshwater docks.
But they won't see across the lake, beyond the rise, a river lies. Weeping Mother, weep, fill our river deep. Raise our boats again, they lie upon dry sand. Let the salmon in.
The fireworks, parades and songs, the Roosevelt leads them on. Their navy safe, coal barges raised, their wealth secured this joyous day.
Across the lakes, no net made fast, no fish to sell, the past is past. Weeping Mother, weep, fill our river deep. Raise our boats again, they lie upon dry sand. Let the salmon in.
The day is done, the party ends, the crowd returns to home and friends.
Black River drained, last village gone, Duwamish tribe denied a home. Through time and tears, 100 years, Duwamish host will rise up here. Weeping mother, weep, fill our river deep. Raise our boats again, they lie upon dry sand. Let the salmon in. As the Duwamish lost their homes, surrounding tribes were willing to take them in, give them shelter, maybe give them a job. One of the ways in which the federal government agrees to acknowledge or recognize a tribe is their continuous residency on the same land. The Duwamish have yet to been recognized.
Kind of hard to follow that.
It's again, you know, Susan mentions this all the time, particularly when we're talking about labor history. It's through songs that we, unfortunately, if it's only through songs that we bother to do our research and find out so much more of these stories. I
Yeah,
know you read a lot more, but
it's good to know why we're singing these songs and the outcomes and everything.
oh, another friend.
Another friend, yes, Tom Hunter, who is an avid cook and songwriter, wrote this next song when he got a newsletter from his Pacific Gas and Electric Company.
Utility
in
California.
company. Yeah.
And
We want
and
PG.
we do, please. Let's see if we get it this time. Is that it?
Yep, that is it.
Is that just got my? Is that right?
Yep.
2, 3. Just got my copy of the Progress, the newsletter from PG&E. I couldn't wait to read it all the way through, especially the recipes. There's one in there for split pea soup. How they know it's my favorite kind. It's a little strange coming from PG&E, but good recipes are hard to find. Then later he sent me a warning. How nice of them to send it along. Don't make soup in a pressure cooker. If it clogs up, something goes wrong. Then it will explode.
Then it will explode.
Then it will explode all over the wall. If you make soup in a pressure cooker and something goes wrong, it's all over the wall. I figured it was pretty thoughtful of them to warn me like that in advance. I like split pea soup and all, but it's just not worth the chance. Strange that folks so thoughtful, they don't warn us that we all might die. Instead, they tell us that
nuclear power safe as grandma's apple pie.
So I sent them a letter as a warning. How nice of me to send it along.
Warning.
Don't make power in a nuclear plant. If it clogs up, something goes wrong. Then it will leak.
Then it will leak.
Then it will leak all over the world. If you make power in a nuclear plant and something goes wrong, it's all over.
We do seem to have a theme also going about progress, don't we?
Don't we? Oh, more locked doors. Yeah, here you go, Charles.
Great. Progress. We're again it. I guess for a segue, I would say that this is another song we can learn a little bit about our history and our nation. It's kind of a personal crusade of mine to have people know everywhere I go the name Park Cannon. And I never seemed to sense a thrill running through the audience when I mentioned her name. And that could be that I don't play enough gigs in Georgia, because that's where she's from. Park Cannon is a young African-American queer state legislator in Georgia. And might be worth saying that she's in the minority in the legislature. And Georgia, as you may recall, has gone blue with senators and presidential votes. But the Georgia Assembly is predominantly conservative, or let us say more appropriately, right-wing and white nationalist. And they passed a piece of legislation that resulted in redistricting and limiting access to the polls for minorities. And Park Cannon was a vocal opponent to it. And after it passed, the governor announced that he would sign the bill in closed session, which is to say, in his office with 4 other old white men, standing in front of a large oil painting of a plantation. So this tasteful display was done behind locked doors with a video feed to the general public. And Park Cannon decided she had every right as a state legislator to attend that signing of the bill. So the governor started his spiel, and Park Cannon arrived at the locked door, and not being able to get past it, she started knocking on the door, quite loud, with both fists. And that interrupted the governor's speech. And so he sent the word out to have something done about Park Cannon. And the Capitol Police came and they arrested her and carted her off. And the press said, "What are you doing arresting a state legislature here in the state capitol?" And the police had one explanation, which was she would not stop knocking at the door. And my daughter, Nell, sent me an email. That's the first I heard this story. And she said, "Sounds like a good name for a song." So, and if you've been kind of chomping at the bit to sing, every other line in this song is, "She would not stop knocking at the door." Brian Kemp's office was locked up so tight, she would not stop knocking at the door. He was signing the bill out of reach, out of sight. She would not stop knocking at the door. Representative Cannon, a woman on fire, she would not stop knocking at the door. Raise the ruckus, the truth, the governor's ire. She would not stop knocking at the door.
Charlie.
She hollered, she knocked, she persisted, she did much rather work in the dark, like the old Ku Klux Klan. But State Rep Park Cannon knows under the sheet he's a shark. Georgia Assembly had passed legislation. She would not stop knocking at the door to send Georgia voters back to the plantation. She would not stop knocking at the door. I just got a note from my producer. Yes, Grace? All right.
Think original sound. We want more
Oh,
guitar.
It's a tricky thing. It jumps in and out on us. Let's take it from the top of the verse. I was doing so well, too. The Georgia Assembly had passed legislation. She would not stop knocking at the door to send Georgia voters back to the plantation. She would not stop knocking at the door. The voters had spoken, a red state turned blue. She would not stop knocking at the door. Now the Georgia Assembly is staging a coup. She would not stop knocking at the door. No, she hollered, she knocked, she persisted, she did. The governor thought he could hide, but running a scam on the likes of Park Cannon is swimming against the tide. They dragged her in cuffs to a squad car outside. She would not stop knocking at the door. Rosa Parks smiling down on one more freedom rider who would not stop knocking at the door. So many have fought for the freedom to vote. She would not stop knocking at the door. She could not get his veto, but she sure got his goat. She would not stop knocking at the door. She was hauled off to jail like her heroes of old. They booked her, and here's what she wrote. We will not live in fear, we will not be controlled, and we will not be robbed of our vote. So here's to the likes of persistent Park Cannon, and to all who have gone on before. And here's to the allies who offer their hand in the dull, daily door-knocking chore. And here's to the people of Georgia who voted for Warnock and Ossoff and more. Stacey Abrams, Park Cannon, undaunted, devoted, determined to walk through that door. Raise a fist, lend a hand, carry on like Park Cannon. She would not stop knocking. She kept the boat rocking. She would not stop knocking at the door.
Yay.
Park Cannon, thank you.
That's a great story. I'm so glad your mission is to spread that story because it's great. It's very inspiring. So we're kind of nearing the end, aren't we? What
We are. And you know what that means.
thank yous.
Merci.
I want to thank Janet Stecker and Susan Lewis, not just for tonight, but for the last 4 months of rehearsal, which in what did Robert Bly used to call it, homicidal proximity or something like that.
Adjacent.
And, it's great to sort of get this under our belt. I've really enjoyed all the work and all the time. And I want to thank Grace McHenry for reminding me that my stellar guitar work was not coming through on that last song and getting me back on track. And I want to thank all of the people, so many folks who showed up tonight.
Yes.
I could see Tom Nielsen out there. I hardly see anybody, but it's always good to see other songwriters, great songwriters in the house, Bev Grant and such like. Anyhow, we'll be talking to you in a minute because after our last song, we'll go over to gallery mode and we can all chat for a while.
Yeah.
And
So please
how
stick
about
around.
you, Janet and Susan? Who are you felling with gratitude for?
Well, predominantly you. I mean, you get us off
Oh.
our butts.
Well, yeah, for inviting us and being an inspiration for us over all these. I mean,
Yeah.
over all the years, you have been both very generous with sharing your knowledge and sharing your performances with us. I mean, we've done a number of things together over the years, and I've really appreciated that mentorship. Sometimes,
Yeah, it's, me too. Me too.
yeah, and hopefully this will not take us over the top and be the last time we ever do anything together. But
Real time. It would be great in real
I don't
time
think
for
so.
a place too. But as you said, we go back 43 years.
It's-
Are you going
yeah.
to invoke that now?
Yes, yeah. It's my first memory actually of meeting Charlie was I can't remember the place, but it was a People's Music Network.
It's the Cayenne
event.
you just mentioned where he saw David Maskin.
And Janet and Marcy and I, we had a trio called the Bells of Hoboken, and we had just finished singing this song, and one of Charlie, it really was you and Bright Morning Star, when I first saw you in Bright Morning Star, it really was you who inspired me to think, wow, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. And so at any rate, so I knew about you, but this was the first time I ever met you, and I think it's likely the first time you ever heard us sing. And you came up to us after we sang this next song that we're going to do, and you corrected us. You told me about all the wrong things in the song, but meaning things like the ostrich, which is not really from Australia, and I was mortified. But at any rate, we got over it, and we really actually never changed the song. We're still doing it the same way, but now we've got Charlie roped into doing it with us.
We don't want to be sucked into geographical correctness at this point in our
At this point, no.
This is true.
But the correct thing would be to let everybody know that the Red Ladder Theater, which was a guerrilla group that brought theater out to the wilds of England, wrote this next song, and we heard it on a recording called Nuclear Power. No thanks.
Heavily influenced by another favorite of ours, Leon Russell's.
The hippopotamus lives in the jungle, in the depths of the steamiest swamp. Its design an incompetent bungle, and its life one long gluttonous romp. It wallows all day in self-pity. No get up and go in its blood, and its life is incredibly gritty, for it's permanently stuck in the mud.
But
Mankind is on the march of progress, full of enterprise inspired, faster, ever faster, escaping from disaster, out of the mire. We don't know where we're going or where we come from, but there's someone up in front who knows the way. Pick us up, we're feeling fine. If we don't step out of line, we're bound to get there someday. Ba 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 ba. The ostrich lives out in Australia. To the barren desert earth it clings. Aeronautically speaking, a failure. It's a miserable bird without wings. It lacks any soaring ambition. Fears what it can't understand. When faced with an awkward decision, it just buries its head in the sand.
But mankind is on the march of progress. Stand by for takeoff, we're away. Faster, ever faster, escaping from disaster, on and upward. Okay. We don't know where we're going or where we've come from, but there's someone up the front who knows the way. Packers up, we're doing fine, and if we don't step out of line, we're bound to get there someday. Bum 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 bum.
The lemmings live out in the tundra by the dark Scandinavian sea. How they survive is a wonder, for their brains are the size of a pea. Dull, conventional little breeders, life seems to bore them stiff. For fun they play follow the leader, all hold hands and then jump over the cliff.
But Mankind is on the march of progress. The great leap forward can't be stopped. Faster ever faster, escaping from disaster over the top.
We don't know where we're going or where we come from, but there's someone up in front who knows the way.
Someone must know
Pick us
the
up, we're feeling
way.
fine. If we don't step out of line, we're bound to get there someday.
We're bound to get there someday.
Hey! We have overcome latency. Yay! Right. So thank you all. We get to see people now.
We
get to
do.
see
You just
people.
click the gallery and there they all. Some of them are hiding. Not all of them though.
Oh,
Oh,
thanks you guys all for coming. Here, change it to gallery view.
I'm gonna
Okay,
do that.
all right.
Hey, y'all, put your cameras on.
Whoa, Pat, how you doing?
Hey, hey, hi.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Nice to see you guys out there. Oh my gosh.
I have to put gallery on too.
Names from long ago.
Yeah.
Scott Crichton. Good to see
There's
you.
Lauren. Hi, Lauren from the chorus. Barb from the chorus. We got
Annalie,
several people's choruses
Brian.
here.
Whoa. Hey, Storm. Karen, how are ya? Suzanne.
And Great
Suzanne,
Labor
we
Arts
can't go on
Exchange
meeting
in the
like
house.
this.
Oh,
Brooklyn, Massachusetts.
Port Townsend.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. You just never know who's going to show up at these.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
you.
for coming.
Indeed.
To test
Errol
us.
Newman, send me an email and I'll answer your question.
Okay, Charlie.
I love the sound of that, Charlie.
Hey, it's
It's a
hilarious.
party.
I'll have to find an email address for you.
Well, I just want to see you can smooth.
Oh.
Don't have a mic or anything, Charlie.
Oh, there's Ginny.
You're live. Charlie.
This is the point at which Grace says, gosh, wouldn't everyone... Oh,
Encore, encore.
oh
All
beautiful.
All right, we'll give you. Anybody else want to say anything before we put those
Marcia.
mics on mute? What's again?
Let's see you. Say hi.
Thank you.
They can hear you. Hi. Do your encore. Encore. Encore.
I say bring back the banjo.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, I wonder if I could not.
It's the new kid on the block, and yeah,
yeah.
we're quite fun.
I feel moved to say that Marcia Taylor, God help us, God bless us, my good long-time Bright Morning Star buddy and best friend, is going to drive down from Maine to our humble home here in Western Massachusetts, and we're going to do 2 live shows, as in out there in person. And that's going to be next weekend. So if you're within striking distance of Western Massachusetts or Providence, Rhode Island, just go to either Marcia Taylor's website or my website and see all about it.
Oh, I want to take executive privilege. Pat, we've got somebody from Olympia. When are you guys going to be there? It's like coming up
Soon.
any minute, any day. Pat Humphreys, when are you in Olympia? Oh, one finger in the air. New message. Maybe that's where it is. All right. Good. Saving our democracy. All right. Maybe you can put it in the chat. We'll start with this. A little bit of labor history to end this.
Oh.
Certainly not something we learned in school.
John McCutcheon and Cy Khan, right?
It is. It's Icon's birthday, 80th birthday in 7 days. So be mindful. That's also going to be available. John McCutcheon, one of his best friends, is putting on this party for him, and they wrote the song together. Oh, we wanted to have us a school fair, you know, the kind that you have almost anywhere. I was elected to talked to the principal just to see what she would say. She said,
It's a fine idea, but please understand it takes experience and people and a good plan. And I really don't see how we could manage it now. Thanks for visiting and have a nice day.
So I went to the class and I let them know that the principal had quite politely told us no. They asked Jessie and I to give it one more try to see if she would see us as a pair. And when we got to the office, she said,
Fine, I agree to meet with each of you one at a time.
I looked at Jessie with a grin, he looked at me, I looked at him, and together we decided what was fair.
We said,
Thank you, no, we don't think so. We came here together as a team, and what one can't do, you try again with two, because you're never really lonesome as you seem.
Well, she still said no, and when we went back, the whole class decided on a different track. We went to all the rooms and grades, all the teachers and their aides, all the cooks and janitors were on our side when the whole school gathered on the front lawn, and the principal saw what was going on. She said, I will agree to meet a group of 3 to discuss this matter. Now please come inside.
And we said, thank you, no, we don't think so. We came here together as a team, and what one can't do, you try again with 2, and when 2 can't score, you come back with many more, because you're never really lonesome as you seem.
and she said, oh, I just didn't know.
We'll have the best darn fair you've ever seen, and what one can't do, you try again with 2, and when 2 can't score, you come back with many more.
And if your group can act as one, you'd be surprised what can be done. Because you never really lonesome as you seem. Let me say that again. Because you're never really lonesome as you seem.
And if your group can act as 2, you'd be surprised what can you do. No, never mind. Okay, thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Lovely
Thanks for